Dr. Nanaya Osuprempe to give us the opening prayer. So let's welcome her with a hand.
Oh, for 1,000 thanks to sing our great Redeemer's praise. We thank you, Lord Jesus, for such a beautiful day as this. A day that you have brought your own creation from the east and the west, the north and the south, to come and deliberate and account for work that has been handed over to others. I thank you for blessing us with life. I thank you for good health. I thank you for the Minister for Trade and Tourism. For Trade and Industry. I thank you for the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I thank you for everyone that you have brought here today. I pray, O Lord, that you grant us all that pertains to life and godliness. Na sabibi waside chi arade, wona ye de be ma wo. Nhyira ne ayeye ye wodia. And the name of the Lord shall be praised. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, the Son of the living God, who died and rose and has given us the victory. We bless your name for being who you are. In Jesus' mighty name we have prayed. Amen. Thank you.
Yearly meetings or annual general meetings are put together or are required by law to enable organizations and their leaders address the members. And today is one of such things that we are going to do here. Our annual general meeting is for the leaders of the chamber to give an account of what happened in the year under review, and also give us some plans for the following year. So that's exactly what we are going to do. Our meeting here today is actually in two parts. The first part is the plenary session, where we are going to have a keynote address from our guest speaker. And then from there, we will be going around or touring the stands or the exhibition which is down there. We'll see what is happening there. And then after that, we'll come back for the business session itself. The business session is where we are going to review our financial statements. And also, we are going to look at all the operational and strategic things that have happened in the year under review. So please, relax. We are going to have a good time here today. Feel free, especially in the business session, to ask every question that you want to ask. Ask all the questions so that you are clear in your mind where the chamber is going. I want to quickly introduce members on the high table. And on my extreme left is the Deputy Minister for Communications, Mr. George Anda. Next to him is a good friend of mine. I've known him for over 50 years, but that doesn't mean you should be able to guess my age. Mr. Samuel Cranton, who is representing the Chief Executive of MTN. And then our own President One, Nana Dr. Apieje Dankawuso the First. Next to him is a man I admire very well, and I'm sure you want to ask why. All I can tell you is that he went to the best school in the whole of this country. He went to Adisado College. And his name is Alan John Kojo Chewanti, the Minister for Trade and Industry. And next is the Chief Executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Mark Bedu Abuaje. As a host for this particular ceremony and event, I want to acknowledge the presence of all the national and regional executives of the chamber. If you are here, please be upstanding for recognition. Our council members, all the council members, please, if you are here, please let's give them a hand. And then the members of the Central Executive Committee also. I especially want to welcome and acknowledge the former president of the chamber, Mr. Wilson Atakrofa. Please let's give him a hand. We have members of the diplomatic corps with us also. And from the Embassy of the Republic of Korea, I would like to introduce Mohammed and Mohammed. From the Italian Trade Agency, we have Alessandro Gardino. And then from the Islamic Republic of Iran, Sayed Hashemi. And then we have Shiva Batsiono from the Embassy of Burkina Faso, if you are here. Whilst we go along, we'll pick up some of the names and do the proper introduction.
Before I go on with my speech for the day, I have a good news for you. We decided not to be politicians, so let's remain business people. The president once said, if you want money, don't do politics. Join the private sector. This morning, I had the opportunity to have some discussions with the Minister of Trade and Industry, and Nana Konyasa was around, and he reminded me that have you spoken with the minister on the land that he promised us? And like I said, so the minister heard it himself. So he was asking. So what he said, in simple terms, is that the land is ready. So before we leave here, his PA will tell us where the land is. The other one that is more suitable and more convenient in my ears is that the deputy CEO of Exim Bank is here. Let's see you. The person of Nana Mapoku, she is representing the CEO of the Ghana Exim Bank, who is equally engaged at the Ministry of Agric this morning. But he made sure he welcomed the Minister of Trade and other dignitaries before he left for that meeting. And the Minister of Trade and Industry instructed him that they should at least finance half of the cost of the building of Exim Bank, Ghana Exim Bank should finance at least, and the word there underlined, at least half of the costs of Chambers building. The chamber has been in existence for more than 250 years. We are talking about private sector. We are talking about an association that is supported by an LI Act 232, and we are talking about leadership of private sector. And we have membership more than 6,000 in good standing. And we are having AGM, look at the number here. Even though it's almost full, but 6,000 people, if we have even a quarter here, that would be very encouraging. So we are always talking about governments to support private sector government. It's about numbers. It's about advocacy. And so it's a wake-up call. BUSAC is helping us, and all USAID is supporting us, UNDP is supporting us, and so When it comes to payment of subscription, we are quick to pay. But when it comes to meetings, to show where we belong to and what the government should do for us, sometimes we don't show up. And so I'm urging all of us to take that very seriously. And on that, I want to move straight to why we are here this morning. The Minister of Trade and Industry, Honorable Alan Martin, the CEO of MTN Ghana, Mr. Selom Adadivo, ably represented by Mr. Samuel Granting, our own Mr. Anda, Deputy Minister of Communications, members of the Diplomatic Corps, council members of GNCCI, representatives of business associations, collaborating partners, distinguished members of GNCCI, distinguished businessmen and women, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the media, good morning once again. On behalf of the Governing Council, the national executives, and staff of the Chamber, I deem it a great honor to welcome you all to the 43rd Annual General Meeting of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Let me take this unique opportunity to express our profound gratitude to the Minister of Trade and Industry, Honorable Alan Martin, for honoring our invitation, as well as the Chief Executive Officer of MTN Ghana, Mr. Selom Adadivo, who is ably already mentioned, represented by Mr. Samuel Granting, for his acceptance to deliver the keynote address on the theme, Digitizing the Ghanaian Economy for Competitive Edge in a Globalized Market. We gladly recognize our distinguished guests and cherished friends from the media for their participation. I would also like to appreciate the efforts of the Council and the respective committees for their enormous support to the strategic direction and future progression of the Chamber, Central Executive Committee, Strategic Projects and Resource Mobilization Committee, Lawyers Guild, Building Committee, Awards Committee, and the GNCCI Think Tank. Indeed, this has contributed in maintaining the relevance of the Chamber as the foremost private sector business association in Ghana. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all too soon, we are here once again to give account on the previous year's activities. Indeed, the year 2018 was eventful, and I'm happy to share with you the Chamber's contribution to the growth and development of the private sector of Ghana. In line with our legislative mandate of promoting and protecting commercial and industrial interests in the country, the Chamber undertook several activities, including capacity building workshops, business advocacy, trade fairs, and investment missions and exhibitions, business-to-business meetings, export development, and trade facilitation. In particular, the Chamber participated in over 50 international trade fairs, exhibitions, conferences across the globe, organized and participated in 13 B2B and investment meetings, over 100 stakeholder meetings and programs, and several business advocacy programs. These notable programs gave members the opportunity to deepen and establish new business linkages, access new markets, and establish new partnerships and joint ventures. During this period, the Chamber also continued its engagement with the international community by facilitating business promotion and networking between local and international partners. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, ensuring membership satisfaction is the core of every business association. The success of a business association relies on its ability to design, monitor, evaluate, and envision services that sustain members' interests. It supports this by periodic feedback. In this regard, the Chamber has commissioned the biannual membership survey for getting feedback on members' participation and overall impression about the Chamber's services in order to monitor and improve its service delivery. The maiden report with the survey conducted between March and May 2019 showed that there are high levels of participation in the activities of the Chamber. Most of the branch chambers were noted for their uniqueness in their service delivery, which attracted the highest participation from members. Generally, members were satisfied with the services of the Chamber. I encourage members to participate in the upcoming survey scheduled for the fourth quarter to share their feedback on Chamber's activities. Ladies and gentlemen, let me share some highlights on some initiatives and projects of the Chamber. I will also share on the economy, on the banking and financial sector, and on the AFCFTA. To begin with, let us look at initiatives and ongoing projects of the Chamber. In the last year, several initiatives and programs aimed at supporting business growth and development were undertaken. I will list some of these now. And first is the Chamber Business Awards. This was an initiative of the Chamber to celebrate the very best and finest of Ghanaian businesses and personalities who have demonstrated excellence in business practice. Both the maiden and second edition were successfully held under the distinguished patronage of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic, and Nana Otu-Sribo II, Chairman, Council of State, respectively. The third edition will be held under the distinguished patronage of the Vice President of Ghana, His Excellency Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, and is slated for Saturday, 23rd November 2019 at the Accra International Conference Center. The second is the head office building project. And I think I've given you a small gist about what happened this morning between my good self and that of the Minister of Trade and Industry. Last year, the Chamber commenced its advancement towards constructing its own head office complex. The Chamber has commissioned an architect to produce architectural drawings, after which on-site work will begin. We are hopeful that work will progress steadily. Third, we are talking about industrial tour. The Chamber began an industrial tour. This effort was carried out to deepen the Chamber's interaction with its member firms. The activity also gave the Chamber the opportunity to learn from the concerns of businesses and find ways to address their challenges. The importance of branding was also promoted along with further best practices. Some of the businesses visited, including NS Chemists Limited, Free Zones, Agility, Anwar Fabrics Limited, B5 Plus, Toyota, Unilever Ghana Limited, Japan Motors, and many more. On the 25th of September 2019, I will be leading a further industrial visit to two manufacturing companies, Blue Skies Company Limited and HPW Fresh Dry Limited, located at Dobro and Adesso, respectively. Next is the development of a 5-year strategic plan. The Chamber has begun the process of developing a 5-year strategic plan to ensure continuity in its strategic direction. This will position the Chamber to effectively and efficiently deliver on its mandate of promoting and protecting the interests of the business community of Ghana into the future from 2020 to 2025. The BUSAC Fund is also partnering with the Chamber's Fund to support this initiative. And I think our man is here, we can appreciate him for that support. The next one is the Chamber's constitutional review. The Chamber's constitution or rules has been reviewed and will be shared to the regional chambers for their output. Afterwards, an extraordinary general meeting, EGM, will be held to accept the revised constitution or rules by April 2020. The next one is the GNCCI ADR Center. During my tenure, the principal preoccupation and focus of the Chamber has been on helping members and the entire business community to resolve commercial disputes locally without stress and additional costs. On the 14th of August 2019, the Chamber signed an MOU with Gami and Co. ADR to establish the ADR Center. Periodic orientation exercises will be held for members of the Chamber on the work of the Center, the rules of mediation and arbitration of the Center. Feedback will also be taken about the services of the Center. It is my expectation that the business community will make use of the ADR Center. And with this, we have also witnessed with keen interest that most of the cases that are sent to the normal commercial courts take a lot of money and time, and one cannot even predict when that litigation or that issue will be settled. And so for business communities and for each of doing business in Ghana, this is another initiative that we have established. Honorable Ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the GNCCI Business School and Capacity Building is the next issue. And this year, the Chamber began a training workshop on responsible financing, which was facilitated by Professor John B.K. Aheto across all the regional branch chambers. It forms part of the preparatory work for the establishment of the GNCCI Business School. Last month, the Chamber organized a capacity building workshop on entrepreneurial finance, opportunity recognition, and generation of ideas and stress management. The resource persons were senior lecturers from the Liverpool John Moores University in the United Kingdom. The next one is the IFC GNCCI Cooperation Agreement. Plans are far advanced for the signing of an agreement for the development and implementation of a project aimed at promoting good corporate governance practice within members of the Chamber and the business community in Ghana. Honorable members, the GNCCI Business Pulse. This is a new quarterly growth index that measures the state of business growth by tracking the performance of businesses. The novelty of the pulse is the inclusion of growth metrics, risk profiles, and coping strategies and data on the utilization and effect of industrial and state-related policies on businesses. This provided data will help inform bottom-up decisions on government policies and programs to help create a more conducive business environment. I am happy to announce that the BUSAC Fund, with support from the NIDA and USAID, have partnered with the Chamber's Fund in running this program as well. AGUA Trade Resource Center. Honorable members, honorable ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in recognition of the Chamber's active role in supporting the private sector through the Ghana AGUA Trade Resource Center, ATRC, the Chamber was invited among other national institutions and businessmen and women from AGUA eligible countries to participate in the AGUA Expo and Trade Fair 2018. A number of opportunities were explored to enable Ghanaian businesses to access the US markets, as well as strategic foreign partners identified in product areas such as shea butter and black soap, yam and plantain, and garments. Currently, the Chamber is facilitating Ghanaian business participation under AGUA through buyer contact promotion in the United States of America in November 2019. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry Credit Union. The Chamber is in the process of opening a bank account with Carl Bank for the establishment of the GNCCI Credit Union. This will take place following the issuance of an introductory letter from the regulator, Credit Union Association of Ghana, KUA. As part of the process, the Chamber will be issued a license after 6 months. The credit union will help member firms by providing credit and other financial services at competitive rates. The inauguration of the Koforidua Chamber. Plans are far advanced for the establishment and inauguration of the Koforidua Chamber to serve the needs of the business community in the eastern part of the country. It is our expectation that the Koforidua Chamber will become fully functional by the end of 2019. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is just a small selection of some of the activities that have taken place and are taking place on your behalf by the Chamber. With your indulgence, I will move on to discuss the economy and banking and finance sector in Ghana. The Ghanaian economy performed relatively well in 2018. It is worth noting that the rebasing of the Ghanaian economy resulted in a 24.6% nominal expansion of the GDP. The economy also witnessed a significant reduction in inflation from 16.0% in 2017 to 9.8% in 2018. In May 2018, the monetary policy rate also reduced from 20% to 17%. In spite of this, however, interest rates remained relatively high, undermining business profitability. You all agree with me that the private sector cannot operate in a weak financial environment. It is in this regard that the Chamber commends the Bank of Ghana for taking the necessary steps to restore the health and resilience of the financial sector. Consequently, credit to the private sector as a percentage to annual growth increased from the lowest point of 2.44% in February 2018 to 17.3% in September 2018. Nonetheless, it was difficult period with companies facing some challenges in accessing their funds due to panic withdrawal. The Chamber urges the Bank of Ghana to continue strengthening its supervisory in ensuring strict compliance in the industry. It is our expectation that the remaining banks and other financial institutions will demonstrate good faith and will constantly monitor and manage their risk exposures. The Chamber will continue engaging government, Bank of Ghana, and other relevant stakeholders to ensure a safe, sound, supportive, and stable banking sector within the larger financial sector. On the external front, the Ghanaian cedi recovered after sharp depreciation recorded in the early part of the year. The cedi cumulatively depreciated in 2018 by 8.4%, 3.9% and 3.3% respectively against the dollar. Compared with the 2017 figures, the cedi recorded marked improvement with the euro and pound sterling, and that is 12.3 percentage points, except for the US dollar, negative 3.5 percentage points. The Chamber maintains that a fairly stable exchange rate regime is critical for business growth, and that government must proactively address the perennial depreciation of the cedi, arising mainly to the systemic structure of over-reliance of the exports of primary products with low value added, as well as the excessive importation of goods and high foreign denominated bonds. Overall, the Chamber continues to commend the work of the government and financial sector and looks forward to a promising upcoming year for the private sector. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I finally conclude with progress on the AFCFTA. The Chamber commends the government of Ghana for its commitment to the African Continental Free Area Agreement. Indeed, successful bid to host the Secretariat for this project presents an opportunity to become a new commercial capital of Africa, a regional trade hub and economic epicenter, and a new gateway to the continent. And I think we can appreciate for that. We cannot mention the African Continental Free Trade without mentioning the Minister of Trade and Industry and also the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And so we have to appreciate these two for a very good work. Let me emphasize here that the private sector's interest and support to the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, Area Agreement, has been phenomenal. During my tenure as president of the Pan-African Chambers of Commerce and Industry, PACI, a conference on the AFCFTA was organized by the private sector with about 150 economic operators present. And I think the topic for discussion was how Africa will lead the whole world. Prosperity for Africa, so to speak, Mr. Minister. And I think that set the tone for the good work we have already done when we were with the AU, and it has also come to fruition at the time that we were Minister of Trade and Industry. The excellent success of the conference clearly demonstrated the importance that business groups currently attach to the creation of the single continental market for goods and services in Africa. This gathering was the first of its kind. Similarly, in Ghana, the recently held National Conference of AFCFTA reflected government's leadership in mobilizing local and international support to enable Ghana to reap the benefits of the AFCFTA. As a representative voice of the private sector of Ghana, we welcome the government's position to support the private sector as frontline actors in leveraging the AFCFTA to expand production and to lead the socio-economic transformation of Ghana. The private sector of Ghana, as the engine of growth, needs to be supported with the required technical, financial, and infrastructural support to ensure sustainable production. The private sector, both formal and informal SMEs, account for about 93% of jobs created in the country. 92% of companies in Ghana are micro, small, and medium enterprises, who as a collective make up about 70% of the Ghana's GDP. However, these lack technical and financial capacity to grow their businesses. We urge government to support our local industries and businesses to expand and create more jobs for the increasing number of unemployed youth of Ghana. We propose incentives such as tax holidays and waivers and affordable energy supply with power outage exemptions for factories. On this note, the Chamber commends the government for abolishing the luxury vehicle tax introduced in July this year. Building the capacity of local industries and the business community is critical. In this regard, the Chamber will be embarking on a series of workshops to enable the business community to understand the AFCFTA. The workshops will also focus on topical issues such as corporate governance practices as a means to improve performance, increase access to finance, and foster sustained growth. Through its regulatory agencies, the government should continue to build the capacity of our local industries to produce high-quality goods and services that meet international standards. This is critical in building confidence in consumers. We need to find innovative ways of integrating women and youth in implementation of the AFCFTA, as they play a critical role in our development path. Recently, I met the Chamber ladies along with other women entrepreneurs to discuss issues affecting them and how the Chamber could help address their concerns. In conclusion, Mr. Minister, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my expectation that this AGM will strengthen the Chamber to deliver on its core mandate by creating networking opportunities and attracting government assurance of conducive environment for the growth of the private sector. I wish all a fruitful AGM. Long live Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Long live Ghana. Thank you.
We have received lots of solidarity messages from other associations, and as I mentioned their name, please, we want to just recognize the representatives who are here. If we have the representative from PEF, Private Enterprise Foundation, if you are here, thank you very much for coming. Please, let's give him a hand. The representative from Association of Ghana Industries, AGI. And then the representative for Ghana Shippers Authority. And then the representative from the Ghana Employers Association. And then GUTA, Ghana Union of Traders Association. And then we have the rep from BUSAC here. Nicholas, if you are here, let's see you. Thank you very much. We will now take our keynote address. And to deliver the keynote address is a seasoned lawyer and a regulatory specialist with over 30 years in the bar. He's worked in Ghana and also in the UK. He is currently the Corporate Services Executive of MTN, responsible for MTN Foundation, communication, regulatory, and legal. Unfortunately for him, when we were filling our common entrance forms, he chose one of the schools in Cape Coast that was opposite the beach. That is St. Augustine's College. And he hasn't had it easy since then. But he should have gone the other way, that is at this other college, but he didn't. However, he's a keen golfer. And I would want to introduce Mr. Samuel Cranton from MTN. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prince. The Honorable Minister of Trade, Alan Koyo-Chemantin, Honorable Nana Mafu Aminiampong, the President of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Honorable Deputy Minister of Communications, Nenye George Anda, CEO of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mark Bedu Abuaje, members of the Chamber, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I am deeply honored to be here at the 43rd Annual General Meeting of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I bring you warm greetings from the Yellow family, and I would also like to apologize for the absence of our Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Selom Adadevo, who could not be with us today as he is on an equally demanding schedule outside the jurisdiction. I am confident that our mutual interest and relationships would accord him another future opportunity to engage with the Chamber. My task this morning is to steer our thought processes on how the telecommunications industry can leverage its relevance to digitizing Ghana's economy while making us competitive within the global markets. Becoming competitive as a nation in today's globalized market is no mean feat. Michael Porter, in his seminal work, The Competitive Advantage of Nations, said, and I quote, "A nation's competitiveness depends on the capacity of its industries to innovate and upgrade. Companies gain advantage against the world's best competitors because of pressure and challenge. They benefit from having strong domestic rivals, aggressive home-based suppliers, and demanding local customers," unquote. With this background, I would like to share a few thoughts. As a country, we acknowledge that digitizing our economy remains a huge key to first formalize the economy and the people within it, then position it as a competitive bloc to engage fully with other well-established markets on the globe. Undoubtedly, Ghana has made significant progress in digitizing the economy with ongoing efforts around identifying people with a Ghana card, locating people with a property address, and modernizing the Ghanaian payment system with a strong financial inclusion drive. In elaborating on the payments ecosystem, which is an area that we actively play, Ghana has seen rapid growth within the space following the passage of the Payment System and Services Bill 2018, which guides the payment systems landscapes and permits non-bank entities to operate within the ecosystem. Today, our open application programming interface system is creating opportunities for financial technology firms, fintechs, to improve their products' time to market, market competitiveness, and more. This on the back of our own mobile money service, creating improved access to micro loans, insurance, savings, investments, and pensions has extended the reach of financial services in the last decade than brick and mortar has in the last century. The mobile industry in Ghana also enhances digital inclusion through the provision of internet access. The internet has the potential to generate significant social and economic benefits for all our people and communities, ranging from improved business efficiencies across multiple sectors to increased access to life-enhancing services. Today, the mobile phone remains the primary platform for accessing the internet in Ghana, and there is a huge case as well as a committed drive to ensure that underserved population groups as women, low-income earners, and rural dwellers are reached and included through our interventions. One other critical area for us in digitizing Ghana's economy is driving technology innovation. Ghana's tech setup ecosystem is growing rapidly with the emergence of a new generation of tech entrepreneurs and increasing funding from key private investors. These innovators leverage our mobile platforms such as connectivity, mobile money, cellular Internet of Things to create and distribute innovative solutions that address a wide range of challenges with direct relevance to local consumers. MTN Ghana plays a vital role within the tech ecosystem, beyond offering its platforms to also bridge and deepen engagements between startups, tech hubs through partnerships and investments. What appears consistent in my engagement with you today is the power of connectivity, which is the bedrock upon which the mobile industry provides digital inclusion to Ghanaians. According to the GSMA Mobile Connectivity Index at the end of 2018, Ghana, together with South Africa, Cape Verde, Kenya, and Mauritius, are the only top countries on the African continent leading as transitioners. This means that across the key enablers, that is infrastructure, affordability, content, and services, as well as consumer readiness, we are doing a great deal of work in building a digital village, which soon can move from transition stage to leader and compete with the likes of Singapore, Finland, China, etc. Over the last year, our rich communication services proved to support extensively the work of digital marketeers, allowing users to interact with brands in far more engaging ways while offering guarantees of their privacy and security in doing so. With the latest developments in artificial intelligence, chatbots, and the growing smartphone ecosystem, not forgetting the launch of Apple iPhone 11 yesterday, our industry is building a natural successor to SMS marketing, which has been established to bother consumers over the years, and this is an exciting area and very nascent for new business opportunities. Our access to big data and Internet of Things is increasingly developing new business models, which is impacting heavily other sectors like health, education, media, law, manufacturing, and many more industries. Today, our partnerships with local and foreign investors has seen market innovations such as PEG Ghana in Koforidua and its environs, which is providing solar energy to rural communities, and these are integrated over mobile money, which allows poor rural folk to pay very little a month to be able to use their solar devices to power their lives and stay productive in this fast-paced growing ecosystem. While we acknowledge that digitizing the Ghana economy remains key to the country being competitive in the global space, there is more to it. The ecosystem for digitization is beyond just our industry. The existence of many players, agencies such as GIPS, NITA, GIFEC, etc., are equally significant to playing roles in the digitization of the Ghanaian economy and access to digital services. However, challenges remain. The pace of value creation into the larger economy via technology deployment has been slow. More collaboration with all stakeholders within the ecosystem is key to achieve success. Wealth creation in the digital economy is highly concentrated in the United States of America and China, with the rest of the world, especially countries in Africa and Latin America, trailing considerably far behind. According to the latest United Nations reports, the United States and China account for 75% of all patents related to blockchain technologies, 50% of global spending on the Internet of Things, more than 75% of the cloud computing markets, and as much as 90% of the market capitalization value of the world's 70 largest digital platform companies. The UN Conference on Trade and Development is releasing its first ever digital economic reports for 2019. This outlines the numerous potential gains and possible development costs as more of the world moves, connects, and buys online. As a continent and Ghana as a country, we need to embrace the changes in the digital world and be more innovative while deploying best practices to achieve a digital economy. Indeed, contrary to popular beliefs, innovation is not sudden. It rather comes as mundane and incremental, taking many forms, including identifying markets hitherto ignored, investments in research and development, to mention just a few. Being competitive as a nation cannot be treated in a vacuum without the involvement of numerous businesses within the country. As a matter of fact, many believe that a nation can only be said to be competitive if its companies have a high productivity rate. It is therefore expedient that the environment is enabling for businesses to thrive. In our environment, to be enabling, government and policymakers need to create and implement policies that can drive innovation and investments in new services and much needed network infrastructure in underserved areas. The availability of spectrum for mobile broadband and the assignment of spectrum on terms that encourage investments remain critical factors for the continued growth of the mobile industry and growing the digital economy we all yearn. As we digitize to remain competitive, I must say that it is critical that government pursues more aggressively and bring closure to the many ongoing efforts to formalizing the economy as a first step. It is within this formalized environment that industry can be innovative and competitive in a global market. An example is the completion or ongoing process of the Ghana ID card system, which can further enable industry and businesses to validate existing and new customers. Imagine sending and receiving money from everybody and everything can be identified, and the level of trust and enhanced services we can continue to provide to our customers. It is also necessary that sophisticated industries that remain critical to the economy receive support from the country by way of skilled human resource, the provision of world-class institutions, etc. This is to further buttress the point that the mobile industry will do its part and very best in digitizing its customers and the economy at large while growing new businesses to compete in the global space. But all other industries will be required to digitize as well and be supportive of the agenda. And this is what we equally do with our business solution units. Ghana, with its vision MTN Ghana, with its vision to lead the delivery of a bold new digital world to its customers, continues to be an enabler of the national digitization agenda. Therefore, significant investment in our network, we have created an elaborate network of fiber broadband across the country, 4G and 4G plus networks in district capitals across the country, delivering high-speed data services, which are the prerequisites for an advanced digital economy. We have committed $160 million to achieve this in the year 2019. Ghana is as capable of embracing the huge potential of digital economy as the rest of the world, even within the limitations of existing infrastructure and complex connectivity challenges. The future is about ensuring that systems and solutions are always on and intelligent, providing industry verticals with the ability to fully recognize the capabilities of automation. MTN has already started to explore how we can capitalize on 5G and commercialize this for the benefit of all our stakeholders. Aside the significant investments we've made, we acknowledge the fact that sustainable strides require cross-sectorial collaboration in the area of policy and regulation, amongst others. It is therefore important that we open up ways of communication to work and understand our priorities as a collective to ensure that together as a nation, we become ever relevant in today's highly competitive global markets. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, kindly permit me to rehash some few areas that we need to focus on to strive towards a digitized economy. Articulation of the leadership vision to adopt who we are to a digital equilibrium with systems, creation of the skills building curricula and institutions required to support a digital economy, nurturing of digital innovative cycles of entrepreneurs, youth and vibrant citizens, and deliberate implementation of the correct digital architecture to mark identifiable problems. Looking around today, we are very fortunate to have so many experts in our midst today. I am certain that this anniversary celebration will be highly informative and open up a world of endless opportunities to Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cranton. I would want to introduce from the high table Honorable Gifty Chuma-Mpofu, who is the mp4 Abuakwa North constituency and also the Deputy Minister for Education in charge of TVET. Madam, please let's see. We also have in our midst the former Chief Executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Sal Amegabi. We also have from the Embassy of the United States of America, Morris Jackson. Mr. Morris Jackson, if you are here. We also have the Executive Director from the Ghana International Trade Center, Mr. Frank Ajeku. We want to acknowledge the presence of the chairman of the Accra Chamber, Mr. Ejeni Mbwate. Mr. Ejeni Mbwate. And then Nana Yao Ousu Akwaniansa from the Kumasi Chamber. And then the chairman of the Tema Chamber, Mr. Isaac Barry. I think he's out. And then from the Cape Coast Chamber, the chairman, Mr. Anthony Poku Akins. And then from the secondary Takrady Chamber, Mr. Stefan Miezan. The chairman for the Takwa Chamber, Mr. Alexander Bion, if you are here. Alex, okay, he's at the back. And then the chairman from the Wa Chamber, Mr. Benin Duri. And also from the Kumasi Chamber, Mr. Achampo. Where are you? Okay, thank you very much. We have the Dean of the University of Ghana Business School also with us, Professor Justice Bawoli. One of the flagship programs of the Chamber is the Business Awards. And we have the chairperson, the one who makes sure that the awards is always successful, in the person of Mrs. Okutu with us also. Mrs. Okutu, please stand. She's not excited about this introduction because she always wants to keep a cool profile. I've already introduced Mr. Sal Amega Viva. He's also in charge of the Lawyers Guild of the Chamber. The last but not the least, from the Wa Chamber, Mr. Salford, all the way from Wa. Let's see you. Thank you very much. Our guest of honor today is the Minister for Trade and Industry, and I know we all know him. He needs no introduction. May I call on Honorable Alan Kojo Chiamantin to give us some minutes. The Honorable Minister has, in true gentlemanship, is allowed the lady to speak first. So please, let's welcome Honorable Gifty Chumapofu.
Thank you, Mr. MC. Nanache, Minister for Trade and Industry, distinguished chairmen from the various branches and chapters, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'm sorry for being late. I had a tight schedule this morning. I send you warm greetings from my minister, Honorable Matthew Pokupempe. We would have loved to be here because without Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the vision of education, especially in the area of TVET, cannot get to where we want to get to. The whole country, the whole world is moving towards TVET. And we're shifting from the usual way of teaching to CBT. And with CBT, we need the industries, we need the partners, so that you let us know the areas you want us to train the students, and you also make your facilities available for internship. When you do that, you will not spend so much money to look for expatriates to manage whatever sectors that we have. We're talking about digitalizing everything, but if you don't have the quality of materials you want to send abroad, you could have the best system of digitalization, but what do we send out there? And whatever we can send out there, I plead for collaboration so that we train the people you want, you support us to train them, so that at the end of the day, You have everything, and you have our own to be very competitive internationally. On this note, Minister for Trade, I'm grateful for everything. Thank you very much for that.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we'll take remarks from our guest of honor. Thank you.
The President of the National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, my colleague ministers, deputy ministers of Communication and Education, council members, am I audible? Council members of the Chamber of Commerce, particularly my old colleague from the Unilever days, Mr. Willie Atakrofa, the representative of MTN, distinguished captains of industry, members of the diplomatic corps, and I recognize the presence of Busak friend, who has been very supportive of the private sector, and distinguished invited guests. Let me stand on existing protocol and say good morning to you all. The president of the chamber, Nana, is a very wise chief and a very shrewd businessman. So he has stampeded me this morning into making a decision that will lift the chamber. And he could not have chosen a better platform than the AGI of the chamber, so that I cannot resist ensuring that I fulfill the offer that has been made. So in the same vein, let me use this platform to stampede the chamber and the private sector. If the chamber is having an annual general meeting, such an important organization, presiding over what I believe is what will make the difference in Ghana between whether we fail or we succeed, which is the private sector. And you are starting your AGM at 10 o'clock, and people are walking in at 11:30. Yesterday, I had the opportunity of also addressing the Association of Ghana Industries. The same thing. And I was telling the president of AGI that you are having an industrial summit, and you are finding it difficult even to fill the chamber of the conference center. How do we expect this country to be transformed if the private sector that is supposed to lead our development will not even attend their own meetings, and also on time? So Nana, yes, sir. I'll make sure that I deliver. I want you also to deliver. And you know, I've been around in this game for some time. I remember when I was minister earlier on in President Kufuor's government, one of the things that was such a pain to me was the fact that we didn't have a unified voice representing the private sector. So at that time, government joined hands with the private sector to ensure that the Private Enterprise Foundation was established and strengthened. And the Private Enterprise Foundation was then supposed to be the unified voice for the private sector. And I know that in those days, it was a real strong voice and a united voice for the private sector. Now, it is no secret that we have serious challenges in terms of harmonizing the activities and operations of the Chamber, of the AGI, and of PEF. I want to use this platform to make a solemn appeal to the Chamber, to the AGI, and to the PEF, the Private Enterprise Foundation, to go back to their glorious days and work together to present a united voice for the private sector. This is very important. The most critical development challenge confronting us as a nation is to deal with unemployment. It doesn't matter which government is in power. We have to have a strategic approach to deal with unemployment. Now, public sector employment is not a solution and can never be a solution. We are a population of 30 million people. The labor force is around 12 to 14 million people. Every year, we have 300,000 people graduating from our tertiary institutions, just our tertiary institutions, every year. If you add those who are graduating from the second cycle institutions and you do an accumulation of the numbers, 300,000 every year over, let's say 10 years, you have a major security problem on your hands. And the public sector, at best, can only employ around 600 to 650,000 people. So how do we expect to be able to deal with this problem of finding jobs for all the people who are coming into the labor market? And I see my old good friend here, the guru of labor sitting here is, and my understanding, at least coming from the private sector, is that it's only the private sector that can deal substantively with this challenge. And government's role is to provide the regulatory framework and then the incentive mechanisms to ensure that the private sector can create opportunities for employment. So there's a lot of responsibility that is bestowed on the private sector. And I think that we must rise up to that challenge. We accept in humility when the private sector is passionate about what we need to do to support them. But in the same vein, I think that it is time, it's a wake-up call also for the private sector to support the associations that they themselves have created to be their voice. So Nana, think about that. Having said that, I want to focus my remarks on the creation and establishment of the Continental Free Trade Area and how Ghana can take advantage of this major development on the continent, particularly also how we can leverage the opportunity of hosting the CFTA, the Secretariat. And incidentally, I'm not sure that everybody is aware that this very building is the Secretariat of the CFTA. And I want to focus my remarks on this because I think that the structural transformation that we are seeking in Ghana will not occur unless it is linked with a transformation of the entire continent. One of the reasons why Africa is the richest continent and yet the poorest, this paradox is explained by the fact that if you have 54 small fragmented markets, you don't have a chance competing with the giants of the world. And that is why I believe that the establishment of the CFTA is the most important development on our continent since the establishment of the Organization of African Unity in 1963. And I'm proud that Ghana has played a major role in bringing this into fruition. But the challenge is, how do we take advantage of it? We are here in Africa celebrating Asia, quoting in superlative terms. In 1957, we had the same GDP as Korea, South Korea. Malaysia started cultivating palm oil by bringing the seeds from Ghana. And so what have you done about it? You had the same GDP with South Korea. And what happened? South Korea, Malaysia, that we are celebrating, got to where they've gotten to, not only on account of their own development, but on account of the regional approach that was adopted for Asia. There's no evidence of any country anywhere in the world that has achieved significant growth without feeding on its regional market. The evidence is clear. And so in Asia, you had what they call the flying geese development theory. Well, you know geese? They fly in a certain formula. There's the arrowhead, and then you have successive, at the back. And so in Asia, you had Japan as the arrowhead, and then the next set, you had China and South Korea, and then the next set, you had Thailand, Philippines, and the others coming up. And that is why you see that countries like Vietnam, Cambodia, are now selling rice to you in Ghana. Vietnam is selling rice to you in Ghana. But it is not happening by chance, because they understand that in and by themselves, as the Americans will say, it ain't gonna happen unless they work together as a region. And that's why I think that we must take this regional integration of our market very seriously. And for us, having the privilege of hosting the CFTA should make Ghana the new commercial capital for Africa. And we must leverage and milk that opportunity. Intra-African trade within Europe is 62%. Intra-African trade within Asia is 48%. In North America is 42%. In Africa is less than 14%. So we have a long way to go. And I hope that the Chamber, the AGI, the PEF, that united voice and common front of the private sector would lead the process for us working with other countries to double our regional trade and then bring us into the big league. I hope that this is going to happen within our lifetime. But the African Union, in coming out with this new continental free trade area, have made suggestions as to how individual countries can benefit and harness the opportunities with the CFTA. Because remember, we have created a common market, a single market of 1.2 billion people with a combined GDP of almost $3 trillion. But the benefits will not accrue to you automatically. You have to put in place certain mechanisms at the national level before you can take advantage of this CFTA. So the African Union, the heads of states, have made a proposal as to how each country can benefit from the CFTA. And they've recommended a program of action at the national level, which is based on 7 clusters. Number 1 is trade policy. that you have to orient your trade policy, national trade policy, specifically to focus and target intra-African trade. Number two, that you have to have a program to enhance the productive capacity of local industries. Because to be able to sell, you have to produce. And that's a major requirement. The third is you need to put in place certain trade-related infrastructure which will make your companies competitive. Number four is you need to have trade information. What is it that Ghanaians can sell to Angola? How are we going to determine what we can sell to Kenya? Because right now, the unfortunate thing is that just those of you who speak French, à côté de nous, in Burkina, in Benin, in Mali, they produce cotton. They are some of the largest producers of cotton in the world. And yet when we want to, because our cotton industry has declined over the years, if we want to import cotton, we have to import cotton from traders who are buying this cotton from Benin and Burkina, these countries that I mentioned, and then it comes back to you when they are just à côté de nous, no means just across them. You want to buy cotton from Burkina and somebody is selling the cotton to you from China or somewhere. It's amazing. People go from Ghana and walk around in duty-free shops and they are buying chocolate to bring back to their families. They are going there to buy chocolate. We are not able to convert our premium chocolate and sell to other countries around us. It's amazing. So the point is that unless we have the trade information, it is not going to be possible for us to know what we can sell to each other. Another cluster that has been recommended is trade facilitation. How are we going to move goods across our ports, whether it's import or export? So if your ports are not working, how can you be competitive? Your rail network, your road network, how are you able to move goods from Ghana to Nigeria? So trade facilitation is a major pillar requirement for us to be able to take advantage of the free trade area. And also, what is important is how are we going to manage the flow of people from one country to the other? We have this Continental Free Trade Agreement, and in parallel, there was an agreement which was supposed to move people freely across borders. Ask how many people have signed the Protocol on Free Movement of Persons. So we, in our country, we have taken the lead. At least we have signed the protocol. And I think that will enable us to be able to take advantage of this. So I'm saying this to give you a sense of direction, that there is a framework that we can use to harness the benefits of the CFTA. And I would like us, government, to work together with the private sector in these 7 cluster areas that I've listed to ensure that government provides the necessary support in all these areas. The other one that I didn't mention is trade finance, that will provide the support to the private sector in all these cluster areas so that you can take advantage of the CFTA. But it also requires some action on the part of the private sector. We will do our part, but it requires the private sector also to enhance their own competitiveness at the firm level. Because if government does all we can in these 7 cluster areas, and at the firm level you are not competitive, then you are back to square one. So there are areas that, as a private sector, you need to look at. Management efficiency. Those of us who were trained in Unilever in the UAC days, we know what management efficiency is. At least around 1978, I was a UAC manager, so I can talk with authority on these matters. Management efficiency. You have companies, Class A companies in Ghana, the chief executive, is the general manager, is the production manager, is the marketing manager, is the financial controller, and signing checks from his drawer. If you cannot compete there, you cannot blame only the government. That is very important. The second is the quality of people you are recruiting, because that makes a difference. We have to be able to look at that. We have to be able to look at productivity at the enterprise level. And I don't want to belabor this point because I know I'm speaking to the converted. Quality is very important. The fact that we have a continental free trade area and the market is open doesn't mean that if you produce shoddy goods, you can automatically sell in other markets. So quality is very important. Branding. This whole issue of product image is absolutely critical. E-commerce, and I'm happy that our friend from MTN was talking about digitization. Alibaba now has an annual turnover which is bigger than about 4 or 5 countries put together, their GDP. One company without any resources. So e-commerce is the way forward, and I think that we have to understand how digitization can enhance our capacity to take advantage of the CFTA. And I could go on and on and on, but I want to close on this note that this is serious business. This continental free trade area is what is going to be the game changer for us in this country. And it is the single most important thing that would attract investments into Africa. Because it means that if you are a foreign investor and you locate, let's say, preferably in Ghana, you can reach the whole continent duty-free, quota-free, just by producing from Ghana. And it's the African market that everybody is targeting. Let's face it, all the matured economies, their markets are plateauing, and that is where the attention is in Africa. The level of mobile penetration in Ghana is one of the highest in the world. Are you aware of that? So it's the African market that everybody is focusing on, and that is why I think that this is a good opportunity for us to take advantage of. And to be able to create the institutional support for the private sector, government has introduced a new framework. So we will set up a national coordinating office for the CFTA, which will be the one-stop office to coordinate all the support that is required, so that you don't run around trying to find information on the CFTA. Now, beyond that, I've listed 7 clusters that the African Union has proposed if you want to benefit from the CFTA. So we are going to set up technical working groups for each of these 7 clusters: trade information, productive capacity, trade finance, and so on and so forth. Now, these technical working groups will be responsible for providing guidance as to what needs to be done in each area. Now, the head of each of these technical working groups will then constitute what we call a national steering committee for the CFTA. So that at the national steering committee level, all the information that is coming up from the technical working groups will be coordinated at the level of the national steering committee. And the national steering committee will then report to an interministerial facilitation team. established by the President, and that will provide strategic direction and overall coordination for the CFTA. So, Mr. President, colleague ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, these are exciting times, and I'm happy that we are talking about this in the very building where the CFTA Secretariat will be hosted. I hope that we can work as government together with the chamber and other private sector bodies to make this a reality for Ghana. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Minister for Trade and Industry, for your thought-provoking remarks. He's saying that the game changer is the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. And I think what we need to do is to make sure that we take advantage of it, especially the 7 clusters that the minister talked about. We have also been joined by the former president of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Seth Ajeban. Can we see you, please? Thank you very much for coming. This AGM would not be possible without the presence of our auditors from KPMG. Mr. President, if you are here, where are you? Okay, let's see. Thank you. We've distributed some questionnaires to you. We'll be glad you fill them and give us your opinion so that we'll be able to handle our next AGM bigger and better. I want to call on the President of the Chamber, Nana Dr. P.J. Dankousu, to give us the closing remarks.
I think you can do it better for me. All other protocol observed. Seriously, the minister, when you were giving your remarks, I jotted down some things, but I will not go over. But what I want to say is that I want to thank all of you for coming. At least for now, the room is full to capacity. And we have to thank all of you. Let's appreciate ourselves. But we have to all heed to the pieces of advice from the minister. The private sector is the engine of growth. And now the engine is on. The fuel is full. The engine oil is filled. But the driver is nowhere to be found. So now we are urging the drivers, that is the captains of industry, me and you, to be up and doing to take up the task. The Continental Free Trade, from his speech, is a blessing. Don't let us turn it to be a curse. If you don't position ourselves, the whole idea will be taken away by those who are ready. Because now, even though the secretariat is in Ghana, it might not be for us. A lot of people are going to be employed. I learned about 140 or 150 people are going to be employed as a start in establishing the secretariat in this particular building. If you are in the real estate business, it's a good business for you, and all other related businesses. And so, seriously, we need to take advantage of the CFTA. Digitization now has become something you don't need to say I support or I do not support. The financial sector did not wasn't so smart to take the first movers advantage. And now MTNs and all those in the telecommunication, the communications setup has taken the lead, and now other financial institutions are trying to cope with it. So, in like manner, we have to take the first movers advantage and make sure that the Continental Free Trade, which is with us now, I think we had about 3 days conference that has set the tone. The President of the Republic was there and all other key holders, including the AU commissioners and staff. So seriously, we need to do that. We need to move the talk. So, Mr. Minister, on the issue of coming together as a private sector, we need to do that. It's very key, and I want to assure you, in fact, we have even started trying to put ourselves together in a more cohesive manner, because the chamber, even though we have the acts, the LI supporting us as the leadership of the private sector, we have PEF, we have Employers Association, we have AGI, you know, things evolve. And so as things change, we need to also find a way of also changing the gear. We need to change the gear so that we get the high speed and take the leadership of private sector so that we can support all the conducive atmosphere that is being put in place by the government so that we can get the best for our economy and for our country. Just want to say that to support what the minister was saying and that of the deputy minister, my dear lady, what he said, there is a gap between education and that of industry. And that gap has to be bridged. We mentioned that we are having a business school. And that business school is not an academic school that we want to have. But we want to have school that could train, mentor, coaching, and training of people to fill the businesses and the industries. We have collaboration with the University of Ghana Business School. We have collaboration with University of Cape Coast Business School and others, all to improve this kind of challenges. And with that, we hope that together we'll be able to get to the top and improve in the system. Mr. Minister, once again, I want to also mention that we are also ready because the government employs, there was a research that was conducted by ISSER of Lagos, and the government of Ghana employs the workforce. The government of Ghana employs only 6% of the workforce of this country. The private sector employs about 94%, and out of that, 60% are in the agri or the industry. How do we change that game? It is onerous on the private sector to make sure that is done. And for that, the government also has come up with the support for the private sector by establishing the Ghana Exim Bank. Secondly, the 1D, 1S and all other mantra projects by the government show the way that the private sector is the engine of growth. It is up to us to make sure we take advantage of that. The Ghana Exim Bank is ready to support all who have good proposals and business plans. I think the Ministry of Trade has also supported by accepting and recommending most of the projects through the 1D1F and the stimulus package. So it is up to us, ladies and gentlemen, to take advantage of all these things that we are mentioning. And with that, we will be able to change the future of this country. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, on behalf of the Council and on my own behalf, we want to appreciate Mr. Anda, Mr. Kranting, Honorable Minister of Trade, and my own dear Minister of Education. Seriously, we are going to have a very serious collaborative effort with her ministry just to see how best we can all together will move the economy forward. And on that, I thank you for your support.
Thank you very much, Nana President. If you haven't received any of the questionnaires or you don't have it, please lift up your hands so that the ushers can give you the questionnaires. If you haven't received any of the questionnaires, please lift up your hands. Please identify them and give them the questionnaires. I will call on Mrs. Grace Jebler to give us the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Nana Chairman, and Mr. MC. On behalf of the President of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Nana Appiagyei Dankwa-Woso I, and his team, the council members, the central executive members of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we want to express our sincere gratitude to the Honorable Minister for being there for us all the time. Honorable Alanche Martin, the Chamber is grateful. We know that you could have been at 100 places today, but you chose us, and we are proud to have you. Thank you. We also want to thank our two deputy ministers, Honorable George Anda from the Ministry of Communications, and our lady deputy minister from the Ministry of Education, Madam Giftichum Ampofo. We are grateful for your presence this morning to grace the occasion for us. We are grateful to MTN, represented by Mr. Samuel Kranting, for doing justice to the theme. Indeed, when you think of digital, you cannot but remember MTN in the efforts they are making in digitizing our economy, especially in the financial sector. MTN, we thank you for your presence and your contribution. The members of the diplomatic corps, you have always been here with us. Indeed, you prove that you have the interest of the nation at stake. You are not only here to make sure that your country's interest is taken care of, but you also come anytime we call you. You are here to help us build this economy together. We are grateful for your presence. Our colleague member associations present here, representatives from ministries, departments, and agencies who always collaborate with the chamber because you believe that indeed the chamber is the mouthpiece for the private sector. And anytime we call you, you are here to work with us. We are grateful. Our development partners, and I cannot but mention the Busak Fund. We have the fund manager here. He's always with us, and they are always supporting our advocacy projects. Thank you so much, Busak Fund, for your presence and your support. Ladies and gentlemen, We are very grateful to all of you. This is your chamber. You came here this morning because you want to see to it that your chamber indeed represent the private sector, and you are here to deliberate on important issues that borders on your businesses. We are grateful to you. Members are prestigious members of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We are proud of you. You make the chamber. Thank you for your presence. Friends from the media, what could we have done without you? Indeed, we have very limited number of people here, but with your support and your presence, we can be sure that the message that have been given this morning by our Honorable Minister, the assurances and all the good news that we have received from our dignitaries will be carried out to the world. We thank you, our friends from the media, for your presence and your contribution to building this economy. Last but not least, we are grateful to the Almighty God for the life He gave all of us, that indeed we have been able to come here and we have life and we have hope. We are grateful to God for His help. We are grateful to our hosts, especially the Exim Bank. They have been very, very receptive. They have warmly received us. And if we have representatives of the Exim Bank here, please. Yes, the deputy, yes, sorry. We have the deputy chief executive here. Madam, we are grateful. I don't want to say what they have done for us, but they have gone way high to receive us here. And we are very grateful. We are grateful for everybody, our host, GEPA, and all the organizers of this place. Thank you so much for making today's program a success. We will not praise ourselves, but we want to say thank you on behalf of the staff of the chamber. We also want to thank Nana and the CEO for the support, encouragement they have given us in putting together this program. And I want to end by quoting Stephen King. He said, "Talent is cheap as table salt. What makes the difference is hard work." Indeed, the private sector of this nation have proven that we are hardworking, and we can be proud of that. God bless us all.